Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan, and I'm going to talk about self-employment and being disabled. Um, First, a little bit about me. I was diagnosed with Asperger's, which is a form of autism, at Duke in 1995. I have 2 associate degrees, both with honors. I have an associate degree in hotel restaurant management, and I also have an associate degree in accounting. I am the owner of a small business known as J.A. Sharp Business Services. We provide bookkeeping services for small businesses. I've been in business for about 11 years now. I am the facilitator of the Mountain Empire chapter of the GCA Centre for Adult Autism, which is a social/support group for adults with Asperger's and related conditions. It was founded by me as Mountain Empire Aspies in 2009. We joined a group in Chattanooga last year that has blossomed far beyond what we could here in the Tri-Cities. Personally, I am single and I love elevators, freeways, and dachshunds. Okay, now we're going to go over some employment statistics, and these are pretty fresh statistics. About 17.3% of people with disability are gainfully employed, as opposed to about 60% of non-disabled people. About 31% of men with disability are gainfully employed, as opposed to 74.1% of non-disabled men. About 25% of women with disability are gainfully employed, as opposed to about 63% of non-disabled women. The unemployment rate, and I use this, this is not as accurate as some of the other metrics that are up here. The unemployment rate for people with disabilities is around 14.3%, 12.9% for disabled men, 17.1% for disabled women. I say this is not accurate because there are people with disabilities that want to work that are not being counted toward this number. And the unemployment rate for non-disabled people is around 10% right now, a little under 10% for men, about 11% for women. This data was from July of 2020. Okay, being an entrepreneur, I've had an entrepreneurial spirit ever since I was a child, but which has helped me tremendously. But I've found that it is easier and sometimes the only option for people with disabilities to have self-employment as opposed to traditional employment. For one reason is I control how much I'm able to earn. I set my own hours. I set my own pay. When you draw a disability check, you can only earn so much from employment for that disability check to keep coming. And you can control that better with self-employment than you can with traditional employment. And again, I am able to keep my benefits. Being self-employed, there's reduced social interaction. For someone with autism, that's always a plus. There's no office politics because I am the office, and there's no one else to politic with me. There's less stress, and of course, more freedom. Now, I recently had a contractor job with a self-storage facility and had it for 4 years. And that job, along with some contacts that I met there, was able to get me a traditional job that I wouldn't otherwise be able to get thanks to my self-employment. So even if self-employment is only good temporarily, it can be a permanent uh, gateway to regular employment as well. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the effective follower and leader scale. It doesn't matter what kind of disability you have, you can be an effective leader, but to be an effective leader, you have to be an effective follower first. And leadership does not mean necessarily that you're in charge or in control. Leadership skills can be taught to children without them being in charge and being in control. Um, so here is the scale for effective followers. On the passive dependent end, you have sheep, which basically follow the leader regardless. Then on the active level, you have yes people, yes men, yes women that will always say yes to their boss and are afraid to say no, even when it is morally or ethically correct to say no. Then you have right in the middle, you have your pragmatic survivor. I found in organizations that I've worked for, these people are mainly out for themselves and are able to change what the way they fit on the scale to best benefit themselves. Now, there should be all types of people within an organization on this scale. So it's not that any one person on this scale is bad or good, but there should be certain types. Now, independent passive people are alienated followers, and I have fallen into this bucket myself a few times, where I'm independent critical thinking but passive, and felt alienated by my former employers. And then on the independent active end is the effective follower, which is probably of these the best type of follower to have. Although very autocratic leaders want only sheep and yes people under them, uh, but a really effective leader will want mostly effective followers that he or she respects their opinion and sometimes follows it. Okay, some of the advantages to self-employment: you have less contact with people. You're not in a business where when you're bombarded with contact with people. You are the boss. Well, there is a little bit of an exception to that, which I will get to later. Um, you have control over what you earned. Again, as a disabled person, that's important. You set the hours. If you're not a morning person and you like to work in the evening, then you set your hours accordingly, or vice versa. For the most part, you control the work environment. So if you work from home, then you control your work environment, the temperature, the lighting, whatever, to best suit you. And there are easy tax deductions. Basically, anything that is considered ordinary and necessary for the business can be deducted from your gross income to make your net income for both IRS and Social Security purposes. So keep in mind that it has to be ordinary and necessary. There's no purchasing a Ferrari for a bookkeeping business, basically. Now I'm going to go over some of the disadvantages to self-employment. Um, I was talking about how you are the boss. However, you have these what I call hidden bosses, which are your customers. You basically have to keep as many of your customers happy as you can. Now, you're not going to keep 100% of your customers happy. If you hover around the 90% mark, you're doing pretty good. But you need to keep enough of your customers happy, because if you have unhappy customers, they will your let people know online and in social media that they're unhappy with you, and these reviews are not very nice sometimes. There are market fluctuations right now with COVID-19. We're having some market fluctuations. That's why our unemployment numbers for non-disabled people are a little high right now. Keep in mind, unemployment numbers for disabled people are always high. It doesn't matter whether it's a good economy or a bad economy. Organizations do not want to hire disabled workers. Taxation issues. You do have to pay. Now, when you're employed by someone, you have to pay Social Security and Medicare tax that's deducted from your paycheck, but you only have to pay half the burden. Your employer pays the other half. Now, when you're self-employed, you have to pay both halves. So that's just something to think of. You must have the willpower to commit to work. This is especially important for people who are working from home, having home office. I know that I've went through this, that the bed is just in the bedroom next door. It seems very inviting. I want to just go to sleep. You got to have the willpower to say, no, I'm going to sit here in my desk chair and work. And bookkeeping, which is my forte, bookkeeping is very important. You need to make sure that the amount of money coming into your business is more than the amount of money going out of your business for expenses. So you need to make sure you're making a profit, so you're not doing a business and losing money instead of gaining money. Okay, here are some examples of good self-employment careers for people with disabilities. We're going to start with careers that are good for people who need very little to no supports from the outside, and then move to those careers that would be good for people who need more supports, or even children that need less support but they're just getting started. So we're going to start with the lower support. Of course, bookkeeping and tax preparation, which is what I'm in, is a good skill, and it's very self-employable. Paralegal, you can make partnerships with small law firms to do their grunt work or their paperwork of their law firm, because the attorneys rarely ever do this. And bookkeeping's the same way. The accountant, the CPA, the accountant rarely does the nuts and bolts of the accounting business. They just basically look at everything, sign it, and it's on its way. Medical transcription. This is one that is basically a doctor speaks into a recording device, and then you sit there and you transcribe what they say. Coding, medical coding. There are small physicians and medical practices out there, and coding is a necessary skill for them to get paid by their insurance companies and by their customers if necessary. Grant writing. Now, this is one for nonprofits. Nonprofits make a large portion of their income from grants, and grants have to be written correct. Every I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed, and the instructions of the company giving the grant have to be followed to the letter, or that grant will be thrown in the trash, even though it may be a good grant proposal. Skilled trades such as locksmith, plumber, electrician, those skilled trades are good careers for people who need less support. Now, all of these careers require some post-high school training and possible apprenticeships as well. The apprenticeships are mainly for the skilled trades. Now, since I'm doing this for the library, there is a system on the library called Universal Class, which is free to library card holders, where you can take online courses in some of these skills and get a basic knowledge without having to pay to take courses. Okay, next slide is for people who are either children starting out or young adults starting out, or those that need a little bit extra support to be employable. Jewelry making, crafts, artwork, stuff like that, and selling it on Etsy, that is a very marketable place for things. You'd be surprised at what is sold on Etsy, and the commission percentage is not that high. For the younger crowd, making PowerPoint presentations for churches and other people. One of the mentors in my said this is what has basically replaced people being paper boys in her era. She's 70 some years old. The paper boy is now today making PowerPoints and other computer based documents. Web page design, it does require a little bit of training and knowledge to design web pages, especially when you go in the back door to do the coding. But there are people in this subset that have those skills. One thing I want to mention is this is a dying art. Clothing alterations and tailoring. It is getting very difficult to find people willing to do clothing alterations and tailoring. Now, keep in mind, you would probably have to apprentice under someone for some time for this, but there are very few competitors, and as some of these older ladies are going to either retire or pass away, there's going to be even fewer competitors. So it is a good field to get into. This is something for someone who is a little bit, who needs a little bit more support. A lot of laundromats are unattended, and it might be a good idea to contact the laundromat owner. You can usually get the emergency number from inside the laundromat and ask them. You can make a deal that you could clean the laundromat and maintain the laundromat for free, but do a wash and fold service out of there, and whatever you make from the wash and fold, you keep. We have this thing we do as autistics. It's self-stimulation. It's called stimming. This is an activity that's very similar to stimming. And one of the mottos we came up with when thinking about this one was, your clothes will be spinning while we will be stimming, which is a little cute. I know that's a little little stereotypical, but it is cute. Okay. Now, this is Abigail. She is my mom's dachshund, and she wants to know if you have any questions or comments for me. Now, remember to be nice, as it is a bad idea to be rude or mean to a dachshund. You can email your questions to the email address on the bottom of the screen, and I will answer them for you as soon as I can. But like I say, please be nice and courteous. Those are the sources for my information. And thank you very much. And I hope you have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing so much excellent information. I'm Lisa Williams from the Johnson City Public Library, and I want to tell everybody more about one resource that we have that Jonathan mentioned, which is Universal Class. That is a resource that the library pays for, so it's free for you to use. And you get to it by going to our website, jcpl.org, and looking under the self-directed learning. There on the right side of the screen, and you'll see Universal Class. When you click on that, you will see a login screen. You want to make sure that it does say Johnson City Public Library there. It's possible to get to Universal Class just through the internet, but if it doesn't have our name on it, you'll not be using the free version that we subscribe to. You want to get access to everything, do be sure that you land on this page. Enter your library card number and set up your account, and thereafter you will just sign in with your username and password. It will take you to this dashboard that shows you the classes that you're taking. This is also how you communicate with your professors for your courses. There is an actual person attached to every class that they offer. You will have assignments in each course. Those will be graded and responded back to you with the grade and the instructor's comments and feedback. So they are asynchronous classes, meaning that you can do them on your own timetable. So you can do one lesson, immediately proceed on to the next one, or you can wait a week. You can do one every day, every other day. You might wait 2 weeks. So you can enroll in up to 5 of these courses at a time, and you have 6 months to complete each one. So that works very well for people. The flexibility there is a big asset to this particular resource, Universal Class, but also having the actual feedback and instruction, and you're able to ask a professor to clarify and get additional feedback that way. So it's a very deep learning that's available to you. You can also communicate with other folks that are enrolled in the class through the message board here. And this dashboard is basically where you keep track of all of your progress through your courses. Now, Jonathan mentioned several things that are particularly good for self-employment and entrepreneurship, accounting being a big one. Universal Class is particularly strong in accounting classes. There are 42 different offerings that they have. For each of these, you can preview the class, see if it fits your needs before you enroll in it. You see a breakdown basically on what each of the lessons are about. So that aids you in choosing what is most suitable for you. In addition to the accounting, Jonathan mentioned medical coding. They do offer a course on the IDC 9, the IDC 10. That's a later version of the 9. And that was developed by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, along their guidelines to create what are called diagnosis codes. And that enables doctors and medical practices to submit billing in order to get paid for the services they provide. So this is a very highly skilled course. There's also offerings on grant writing, as he mentioned. And in the right when you first look at a class, preview it, you will see how many lessons there are there, how many assignments, roughly the time that it takes to complete them. And you'll notice the CEUs there, that's continuing education credits. Those are not transferable as college credit, but it does add up to certification in some areas that may help you with an employer find employment or be some part of a job requirement, those continuing education credits. And there's a relationship between the amount of credits a particular course is worth and the length of the course, the number of lessons involved, and the amount of time that you spend. So they can range anywhere from 3 CEUs to 32 based on the hours in the course. And also there is a class on basic sewing. Jonathan mentioned that tailoring is one of those dying arts and a personal service that it's very hard to find people who are able to do anymore. So that's a great growth area potentially as a service to be offered. So this basic sewing gives you a little overview of what you'll learn to do in that course. You may not go straight from here to being a full-on tailor or working on Project Runway, but this is definitely a good start in acquiring some of those skills. So this has been just a very brief introduction for you to Universal Class, and as I say, it's one resource that we offer. If you need help getting started with this or need to find some different resources for your employment needs, don't hesitate to reach out to us at the Adult Services Department here at JCPL, and we'll be happy to help you with that. Thank you for watching today.